It's not too early for you guys, right?
No, it's 9:45 here, so we've been awake for a while.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we will just go live on Facebook in another minute, and we can actually get started with the session.
Okay.
Our Wi-Fi might be a little unstable, so if it's cutting out for whatever reason, just give us a heads up, and we can turn the video off and just go on audio.
Perfect, no worries.
How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Interesting to organize the festival. Happy that it all came together. So really kicked about that. So we are actually live on Facebook now, and we are on time. So let's get started on time, which is something we are trying to really stick to the festival. So Monica, Gideon, thanks a lot for joining us. I know that you guys are joining us while you are on a break. So a double thanks to both of you for taking time out and talking about a topic which is actually so important for us to talk about. Like, how do you get started? Because even with MatterWest and our work, what we find one of the biggest challenges that people have is, how do I get started? I think that's one of the biggest questions, and I'm really looking forward to this session because you guys are not just financial advisors, you have a personal journey to share as well about this sector. So, so really looking forward to this session. So for everyone who's joining us either on Facebook Live or on Zoom, who's been with us, welcome. We are here at the last session for the day, and it will be a workshop session where Monica and Gideon would talk about how can you get started with sustainable finance. So if you've just joined us, I'll give a quick intro and brief to the StepUp Festival and what we are doing, and then we can quickly jump into the session. So, so essentially what we're looking to do is basically, my name is Mayur and I'm the co-founder of MatterWest. The StepUp Festival is organized by MatterWest, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to link you and help you to learn, plan, and save and invest in what matters to you. Essentially, what we want to do is we want you to feel empowered to manage your money, not just in a better way, but also in a planet-friendly way. So that's what we did. And what we wanted to do with StepUp was we wanted to bring different stakeholders in the sustainable finance space, people who are actually taking efforts, whether they're researchers, regulators, bankers, financial advisors, to come together on a platform and start communicating to more of the community, which is people like you and me, which in financial terms is called retail investors, about what exactly you can do in order to make your money sustainable and what is happening over there. So we've had a range of sessions. We've organized a range of sessions today. There are a few sessions tomorrow as well. So please do join us via Zoom or Facebook Live. If you're joining via Facebook Live, just go to the MatterWest page and you can see all the sessions there. And of course, this won't be possible if we don't have the support of the amazing speakers who are so passionate about this sector that, as you can see, the two people on your screen are doing this while they are actually on a vacation, because this is much more than a job for all of us. And that's where it's exciting to work in sustainable finance, because we're all mission driven. And that is why it's very important that we basically provide a common stage to all the change makers, the leaders, and get them together to make the change and a scalable change. So that's where I'm going to start shutting up and pass the screen to Monica and Gideon. The workshop will be 20 minutes. You can ask your questions in the Zoom tab for Q&A. If you are on Facebook Live, please put your questions in the comments, and we can, our team will help us to channel it to the Zoom Q&A as well. So with that, the last thing I would say is that at the end of the session, we will basically look to get a poll from you, and we will basically ask you about the session, as well as a thing we want to do is basically keep low on financial jargon. We're testing ourselves. So like a zero waste festival, we want to see how much financial jargon can we reduce. So it's a test for all of us. So please do poll that. I'll pass the screen on to Monica and Gideon. So I'll stop sharing if you guys have slides to share, or you can just chat.
I will share our slides. Thank you for that intro, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's really exciting to be able to speak about this. I know we're on vacation right now, but it makes us so happy that so many people are interested in this field and how to get involved. And you know, as a sustainable, conscious community, I mean, we're here to tell you that it makes a huge difference what we all do personally with our own assets to you know, be more sustainable, be more conscious. So we thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thank you all. As Mayor said, I'm Monica Meng. I'm co-founder and director of business development at Good Capital Investment Group.
And I'm Gideo Cohen, also co-founder, chief financial officer, and CFP.
Which is Certified Financial Planner. For all our global audience members, it's
trying to move away from the jargon.
It's the certification to be a financial advisor here in the United States. So financial advisor, wealth manager, all similar. Our firm, Good Capital, is a wealth management firm that focuses solely on sustainable, socially responsible investing. So we, sorry, next slide.
We're not in our office. There we go.
Our office, jerry-rigging our situation. So we believe that as a community, we wield immense power and that together we can create change. That's why we're on a mission to help purpose-driven individuals and families like yourselves align your money with your values, all while also growing your wealth. We're also striving to close the gender wealth gap, the racial wealth gap, so many things, using our money and helping everyone at the same time is creating impact with their money, also helping them feel confident about their money and their financial situation. Okay, thanks. Oh wait, I think that before we get here, just wanted to give you a quick background on who we are and how we created Good Capital and what brought us here. We've been on the past 5 years, maybe. We've been on this sustainable, socially responsible journey together where we've really thought about how we can be better global citizens and what we can be doing individually to better the world and create the future that we want to live in. So it's been things like paying more attention to what and where we're buying from, whether or not we need to buy something in general and increase this consumerism that we've all been feeding into. Also thinking about eating more plant-based. What else is there?
It's what we shop, where we shop, what we're buying, how often we're buying. It's just everything that we're, you know, the almighty dollar, what that dollar is going towards.
Right, all about the voting with your dollars. And then one of the last things we thought about as we were going on this socially responsible, sustainable journey together was what our own investments were doing. What our money in our 401 or in our retirement funds or our investment accounts, what that money is actually going towards and what it's supporting, what it's saying also for us. So that's why we created Good Capital. We really wanted to align our own money with our values. And then once we did that, we thought, oh, we should help other people do the same thing. So that's how Good Capital came to be. So when you're thinking about your money and sustainability, there's 4 categories, and we kind of mentioned them before when we were going on our personal financial journey. There's 4 categories of things that you can do with your money. There's what and where you buy from, so what products and what businesses you're supporting, whether it's buying from women-owned businesses. In the United States, we have B corporations, which are just certified sustainable, socially friendly organizations. So what and where you buy from. The second being what you fund through your bank account. And this kind of goes along with if you've talked about in the festival, the My Money, My Planet campaign, and really thinking about what your money in your bank account, so your savings and checking account, what your bank is then using your money to fund and lend to. Yeah, so that 2 is what you fund through your bank account. 3 is where you donate to. This is one that we're actually working on, is donating to environmental organizations, social justice organizations, people that are on the ground really trying to drive this change. And then finally, what you invest in. This is our specialty here at Good Capital. We saw the statistic on My Money, My Planet campaign, actually, changing how our money is invested is up to 27 times more effective at lowering our carbon footprint than sustainable consumption alone, right? That's a significant statistic, 27 times more effective at lowering our carbon footprint than just sustainable consumption. So that's why we're really all about this investing sustainably and figuring out what your money is going towards in your investment accounts.
I would like to say that everything that we just touched upon probably could have been its own webinar in its entirety. So we really just brushed the surface on those few topics, and they kind of are the lower hanging fruit. The investment side of the equation is really where the most impact can be made, because that's where the most money is. So we're going to dive in a little bit about how we all can invest sustainably, our own investment strategy at Good Capital, and then how you all can go out and be sustainable investors. I would like to start with a definition of sustainability with regards to investing. It's solely an investment strategy. It incorporates environmental, social, and corporate governance criteria to generate long-term competitive financial returns and positive societal impact. And basically what that means is that we're, as investors, going out there and looking at companies, not only from a profitability standpoint, but also from an environmental standpoint, a social standpoint, and how the company is run. It's our investment thesis that if a company is treating its employees right, treating the environment right, is just generally well run, it'll probably outperform its peers that are not doing those aspects. And as wealth managers and asset owners, we really do try to strive for strong financial returns. We're not philanthropic, we're a for-profit business, so we really do want to have those returns. And our investment strategy, we feel, is generating those returns for us. And that myth is prevalent a lot in sustainable investing. People think that you have to trade these societal aspects or environmental aspects for returns, and it's just not the case. We actually find that our investment strategy drives performance. And as I go through our investment strategy, I'd encourage you to think like we do as portfolio managers, with risk and reward just on top of mind. So when we think about our sustainable, that's not the right slide. As we think about our sustainability in our portfolio, we really look at it through three different pillars. The first is what we do not want to invest in. So that's divesting from companies that really have harmful products for society and for the environment. So we're talking about coal manufacturers, tobacco manufacturers, weapon producers. Not only do we not agree with those core products on a fundamental level, but we actually de-risk our portfolios when we sell those positions, because those core products are very harmful. It creates either political risk, because there could be more policies against those products, or it creates legal risk because there's likely to be more lawsuits against those. So we really de-risk a portfolio by not having these industries in our portfolio. That, and we don't believe in it. So it's kind of like this really, it's a double win. So the first step is identifying what we don't want to invest in and pulling out of those positions. The second is to find strong competitive companies by screening them through an ESG lens. When a portfolio manager wants to build a portfolio, you usually take a huge universe of stocks or industries, and you want to narrow that down to the best companies. So after looking at profitability, economic mode, product management, supply chain management, you want to layer on these environmental, social, and corporate governance to really hone in on the best companies, the companies that have maybe less risk or are executing on a side of their business better than their competitors. And it's really just a very strict process in trying to find the most competitive businesses that are out there.
That are doing good.
That are doing good, exactly. And last is engagement. So once we decide what we want to invest in and we actually put money into that company, we really are invested in trying to see that company be as successful as possible. So if something comes up along the way, our first reaction is not to exit that position, but to engage with that company in order to improve that position. And there's so many different examples on the E, S, and G side of the engagement. And I wish we had more time because we can go into that. But again, our investment philosophy is that once we're in a position, we really want to help that company be more progressive and be more conscious on the environmental and social side. So that's our investment process. It's divesting from harmful companies that de-risk our portfolio. It's investing in good companies that take environmental, social, and corporate governance factors to heart and live those examples. And third is to engage with the companies to maintain the ESG and to push them even further to be more conscious. So that's how we approach investing at Good Capital. But this is not about us. This is webinar is about you and how you all can get involved in this. And there's really a few ways you can align your investment assets with your values. You can do it yourself, a DIY approach. There's so many different wonderful resources out there that will help you build your own portfolio. One that we used a lot was called asyousow.org. It's a wonderful website where you can plug in different investments and it'll spit out what you're invested in. And it's a very powerful tool to get your feet wet.
Yeah, it's called As You Sow, ASYOUSOW, As You Sow.
Is there a place for us to put resources? We'll share resources somewhere at some point. So the DIY approach, it definitely takes a lot more time, but if you have a specific area that you're really passionate about, you can really see that through your portfolio if you do it yourself. The huge one for us is weapon manufacturers. Like, we don't want to go near weapon manufacturer. It's a huge hot area in the United States. So we made a point to not be in any weapon manufacturers, as well as private prisons. Those are two of our big areas. So again, as you take control of your own assets and start thinking about investing sustainably, you really can tailor your own portfolio to what you care about most.
Right.
The downside of that is that it does take a lot of time. I mean, that's my full-time job as a professional. Is I manage assets for not only ourselves, but for our clients. So it does take a lot of research, it takes time. It just takes diligence to do those, to manage your own money.
Yeah, but if you're committed to, and that's something that you're interested in spending the time and effort on doing, then that's definitely investing by yourself is a good option.
Absolutely. The next is to use a socially responsible robo platform. There are several out there. Also, a few of the big robo platforms also have sustainable lenses to them. So they're definitely good. There's a good bridge between do it yourself and working with somebody. The pros, they're generally a lot cheaper than working with somebody. And it also saves you a lot of time because you don't have to do all the research. I'm not sure about international robo advisors.
There are definitely ones in Europe,
yeah.
And there are ones in the United States where we are. I would guess that ones are popping up all over the world.
Yeah, it's definitely a product that people want.
Yeah.
The downside with socially responsible robo platforms is that it's kind of a one size fits all. There's not a lot of wiggle room for certain positions to be held in the account or to have different lenses in the account. So that might be one thing to consider if you're really passionate about one specific area in ES or G. And then that you don't have access to a professional that can help you make financial decisions. And lastly is to work with a financial advisor who uses a socially responsible lens in their portfolio. I mean, this is what Monica and I do for a living. We help support our clients and these face-to-face interactions and really customize our portfolios for what our clients want. I mean, people come in with, either a gender lens portfolio, or they want to have human rights as a huge part of their portfolio, or if they're vegan, they want veganism represented in their portfolio. So there's any number of different, just passion areas that can be built out within a portfolio, and to have that and have your money being just advocating for something that you specifically want. And that's a huge plus, and just having someone to bounce ideas off of and to come, if you need advice for any wide range of topics, it's just really nice to work with somebody on that. The cons for working with a financial advisor, higher fees, it's a big one. Investment minimums, a lot of advisors will have investment minimums. And it's a commitment. We work with people hopefully for the duration of their lives. I mean, we really want to be involved in people's lives. So it can feel like a big commitment.
Yeah. So just to sum up everything we talked about, we just covered a lot of material. I think that one of the most important things to start out in terms of sustainable finance is to take stock of where you are, right? Really think about think about those 4 areas, the what and where you're buying from, who you're banking with, also who your credit card is through, that goes with the banking, how you're donating and where you're donating to, and then also what you're invested in. So I think taking the step back and really looking at your own life, and I think the first step to getting started with sustainable finance is to think about all 4 of those categories and what your money is doing right now. And then specifically with the investing part, it comes down to those three options that Gideon was talking about, really, the investing by yourself, or going with one of those online platforms, or finding a personal financial advisor for yourself.
I'd also like to say that we all have incredible agency when it comes to the money we spend. It can be very powerful if it's used on a societal level to create change, because I mean, it's just a very, very powerful tool, and we all have agency to wield that in whatever we feel is going to progress our own societal view of what the future looks like. So it's a really powerful tool that should be used.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, we covered a lot really quickly. I appreciate you all tuning in, and I guess we'll move now to Q&A.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there were suggestions while you guys were presenting, guys, about the fact that you had a slide where you talked about different factors, and there's a comment from the audience about presumably what job you do or impact you can have in your own job is also something that should be added to the list.
Oh,
absolutely. There's an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. You're trying to create change from within, and it's a good battle to fight. For sure.
Guys, we have a very good question, and I think this is something we not just personally face, but also we've seen it from a lot of audience. What can I do if I don't feel ready to take the risk of investing? Is education useful, or is there another better path?
That's a really good question.
With anything, the more educated you are, the more confident you're going to feel in your actions. So if you don't feel confident, education is definitely the first place to start. There are, like I said, there's tons of resources online. There's lots of books on how to invest sustainably. So there's so and we're here. I mean, we put our emails up, so if you have any questions, we can definitely we can help educate and field questions.
And our newsletter. We sign up for our newsletter. We have a lot of good information on there. It's a good way to dip your toes in the water and see what's going on in the sustainable investing space and just sustainable finance space in general. We kind of talk about everything. But yeah, if you're not ready to invest, I'd say definitely education is an amazing first step. And also just thinking about those 4 areas of money and what you can be doing with your money too. I think just thinking about things and kind of, what's the word I'm thinking? Kind of just like getting started with that. And then once you have the money, or once you're ready to invest, I think then you'll be more prepared once you.
Or you can talk to an advisor that, like us, that does this for a living, and if it's a good fit, you don't have to educate yourself. You just work with a professional to advocate for you.
Gideo and Monica, what I'll do is actually there were questions which might be interesting to bring up in this session from earlier sessions, and one of them was regarding how much can you trust ESG ratings, and how do you trust, because there are studies which show that ESG ratings are not reliable to make decisions due to low correlation between methodologies on how they're compared. So how does a retail investor trust? Like, there is a lot of online resources. So in fact, you can just go to Yahoo Finance and see the ESG ratings. But how do I trust the ESG ratings, and how do I get comfortable that if I'm taking this step, is the right step?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, it's really good. And I would preface my answer with saying that the ESG ratings that are on Yahoo or on Sustainalytics or any other ESG rating company should not be the be all end all to making an investment decision. Investment decisions are very robust. I mean, we're looking at hundreds of different metrics from profitability to ESG and everything in between. So there's a lot of decisions that go into making a final investment decision. But yeah, there is a huge element of trust behind what is behind ESG rating, and there are so many different methodologies out there for how to assess a company from an ESG lens, and there's actually not a lot of crossover between those different ratings. So Yahoo Finance, MSCI, Sustainalytics, Morningstar, they all have their own way of computing sustainability, and those sustainabilities might not match up. And a lot of professionals will see that as a negative. I actually see it as a positive that there's so many different people out there rating, ranking, comparing these companies that you really almost get a more comprehensive answer to, is the company scoring well on the ESG side, because you can do the crossover between different platforms. But there is an element of trust. A lot of the data that comes out from the ESG ratings are self-reported by the company. So there's just this inherent trust behind the industry on ESG, and yeah, you gotta just trust the ratings. I mean, that's a simple answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're always trustworthy is the problem, right? And definitely look at multiple ratings and to get a better perspective on how everybody sees it. But I mean, there are organizations that are starting to pop up. There's one in here in the US called yourstake.org, and they actually take not self-reported data, but they take data from nonprofits, NGOs, outside third-party data for the companies themselves, and that's how they rate them. What?
Just like with anything in finance, like there is a level of trust. Like if you go on Yahoo and look at a PE ratio, you trust that PE ratio is
But that's
correct.
different because that's standardized, right? The problem with sustainable investing is standardized data. So I think it's looking at all these different sources and taking them all in, and also taking it all in with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah, and I think we had this question in the previous session, and there was someone from Lex Flag, which basically rates bonds, and it's a non-profit which has been in the business for 20 years, much before we started talking about sustainable finance. And the gentleman from Lex Flag put it very rightly. He's like, we need to start investing in companies doing the right thing rather than rather than just finding the right companies, which is like, it fits into this. So he's like, that's the problem with the ESG. And so there are definitely challenges, but just to add on to what Monica and Gideon are saying, if you're from Europe, you should be excited because the EU taxonomy should be out, and a lot of work has been done on EU taxonomy. And what the taxonomy does is it basically it makes the definition of sustainable finance in Europe and the EU to begin with quite uniform. So, and I think that is what would become kind of the first step towards a uniform definition which everyone can do. And what taxonomy also does is basically, if you are in Europe, and you can ask your financial advisor, tell me why is this sustainable? It's your right. And that's what taxonomy is trying to do, and give it a common definition.
Yeah.
Sorry, Monica, you're saying something?
I was saying that's great that Europe is taking that step to do that, and hopefully the United States will follow suit soon.
Exactly, yeah, because then at the end of the day, it's basically about asset managers following a framework. So that's what we need as a first step. I'll move to the next question, which is about some information on the best platforms to get information, which I guess you guys had shared in the presentation as well. And but this is the second part of the question is very interesting. Is it possible to get started with investing small amounts, which would be good for new retail investors who are getting familiar with the process of investment?
Yeah, definitely. I think with the small amounts, the online platforms are great. In the US, there are platforms like Betterment has a sustainable, social responsible option you can pick. Ellevest does, Wealthfront does. I think they all do, really, all of the big ones. And most of them have no minimums or really small investment, like $50 minimums. So that's definitely a good way to get started. I'm sure Europe has the same too. I think I've read about quite a few actually in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, the financial advisor in me says that, I mean, you should be comfortable enough to be in a position to invest first before investing. So every person's going to be different. Every scenario is going to be different. So before you invest, make sure you're in a position to invest. But there are these great options for lower account sizes.
But guys, there's a follow-up question to you guys. Someone went on the website and they're saying, who do we turn to if we have less than 250,000 to invest? I just looking at your website now. Thanks, Laura, for that question.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, so I think that's the issue with wealth managers, is that you do have to have a good amount of money to invest. But yeah, if you have less, I think the online on, I don't know, what do you call them in Europe? Also robo platforms or online platforms?
Yep, same.
Yeah, I think those are really good options, and they give you enough information. A lot of them have great user interface, so you can really learn about what your investments are doing, while also making sure you're invested in good companies. But yeah, you don't have to invest as much, which is definitely more accessible.
So if I could add on to that, but with a big disclaimer that I'm not a financial advisor, but the only thing I would say, if you're from Europe, actually Europe has a huge supply of sustainable long-term saving products. You could actually do as a recurring investment plan, and a lot of these products are sustainable as well. So do check it out. Get in touch with us. In Belgium, we actually help a lot of people to connect with financial advisors who can help them to get started with these kind of products. And you're looking at an outlay of 80 euros per month actually, and just get started. And also gives you tax breaks. So it's actually a pension product, but that's one way of getting started. And most markets would tend to have some product or the other in that case.
That's awesome that Europe has. I think the US doesn't have as much savings.
Yeah. I think if you're in the US, you can use platforms like Open Invest and all for those kind of investments, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a question here that I'd like to answer.
Sure.
Is it possible to fully align our values with the investments, or are there still compromises to return/values? It's a super important question, and something that we receive all the time as someone that works in the sustainable finance field. We were our own first clients. So when we looked at our own personal assets and our own investments, I wasn't very comfortable with what I was invested in. There was stuff in there that I would never go out and consume. So why was it in my investments? So we shifted that. We sold out of positions and started investing sustainably in our own money first. And I am a financial advisor, so it's a lot of red tape concerning what I'm allowed to say regarding returns. But I wouldn't be sitting here trying to preach this investment strategy if I didn't believe that it was additive. That if it didn't have the returns that it has had, I wouldn't be here sitting.
Right.
We wouldn't be preaching it.
Also in the US, we're a fiduciary, which means that Gideon has to have his client's best interests. But that also ultimately means that in terms of profit, it's interest in terms of growing their wealth. Yeah.
So our investment thesis is that there is a strong correlation between looking at these companies from an ESG perspective, de-risking our portfolio from harmful industries will potentially lead to outperformance. And I have to put the word potentially because I do not know if it's going to, and I don't know, but that's our bet.
I think, Gideon, in a way, you are answering another question which is out here. Does ESG really bring the alpha?
So I mean, there are so many case studies out there. There's a case study coming out almost every month arguing in favor of that ESG does bring alpha.
Especially during COVID. Sorry to interrupt.
Go for it.
Especially during COVID, we've seen ESG funds outperform traditional funds by a huge margin, which has been amazing for us.
I mean, I can go down a rabbit hole right now, but unfortunately, we don't have time.
Guys, that's completely different festival we can organize only on this topic. Honestly, it's like you can really get in depth into it, have 10 sessions and still not have an answer maybe. But the chase for alpha is a long one. What I'll do is we have one last question, but I'll also do, however, is just launch the poll because we're going slightly over time. So I'll just launch the poll right now so that everyone here can vote. And while we are doing that, we'll take the last question, guys. So the last question is from Benita asking about, for an average client, do you have a percentage of a portfolio that you would typically allocate to impact investing? Or do you recommend the whole portfolio to be sustainable?
Yeah, I mean, so we preach what we sell. And if I didn't believe that this strategy was giving our portfolio a boost, I wouldn't be putting any percentage of the portfolio into impact. So we strive for 100% of our portfolios in this investment strategy. There are exceptions. Every client we have is unique, and every situation is unique. So there are reasons why we would not have sustainability be the forefront, but it is the forefront from all of our clients right now. So,
right. And our clients sign up wanting that, right? Our clients want us to do that, right, for their portfolio. But that being said, it does take a little bit of time. It's not like as soon as our clients come over, if they have previous investments, we're just selling everything and going into impact. It takes some time, and there's definitely a process with everything.
Yeah. Guys, thanks a lot for that. People love the session. That's what I can see in the messages. And actually, we did not so bad on the financial jargon, and I find it amazing, especially 66% of the people feel that there was not a lot of jargon, which is very tough to do, which is extremely, extremely tough to do. So congratulations and great job at that. Thanks a lot for polling, guys. And thanks a lot, Monica and Gideon, for joining us while on a break. It's just amazing. That's what we talked about. And I remember the first call we ever had. It was just amazing to see the energy that people working in sustainability or sustainable finance can bring for each other. To everyone in the audience, what I will do is I'll quickly give you a brief overview of what is going to happen tomorrow, since this was the last session of the day, so that you can tune in tomorrow as well. All the timings over here are CET timing. So tomorrow we'll be starting with an introduction to the festival as well as MataWest at 10:30 a.m. CET, which will be followed by a very, very interesting session in which a campaign that we launched around 4 months back, and Monica and Gideon were as much a part of it as we were, called My Money, My Planet, in which we got many of you who might be on the call to sign letters and ask the banks. So tomorrow we're getting the banks to come and answer those questions. So we have Triodos, which is a sustainable bank, ING and BNP coming in, who are people who actually had calls with us. And we spoke to them and we said, listen, we want you to tell your story to people. And it's been moderated by Chloe, who's an influencer and a climate advocate. And she's been crowdsourcing questions from all of you. So go to her Instagram. If you have any questions, please put it in. That's what we'll be doing in that session. That will be followed by a pitching competition, which is the Idea Lab concept in StepUp, wherein students have been preparing pitches for quite some time now. So 2 finalists would be there, but there will also be a discussion on communication and greenwashing within sustainability, within a broader sustainability umbrella and not just sustainable finance. We'll move on to a session on sustainable pensions and the EU. We had a question about starting with low investment amounts. That's something that could be discussed there. And we'll end with an advisor matching session, which is relevant for people on Belgium and Germany, where we are actually matching you with advisors so that you can get started with your journey quickly. So a huge lineup of speakers tomorrow is going to be there. So join us for these sessions. And thanks for being with us throughout the day. Once again, Monica, Gideon, thanks a lot for taking time out and spending time with us. It was lovely again seeing you guys both. So
thank you so much, and we're just so happy to be part of this conscious community of go-getters. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining in. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Bye.